Happy Easter. It is my pleasure to be able to share the Easter scriptures with you. It's my most absolute favorite part of the Bible. I sure wish you could be here with me. You always remind me of the things I forget and the most important things to say. On the night that Jesus had his very last supper with the disciples, he went to a garden to pray. He took Peter, James, and John with him, and he said, "Pray." Now, of course, the disciples fell asleep. It's the first thing they did. But Jesus was so sad. He knew that the only way we would be able to go to heaven would be if he died for all our sins, if he died for the mistakes and the mean things that we have done, and we've all done them. So he was sad, but he knew he had to do it, and he knew it would happen that night. After a while, he went and woke up his disciples, and he said, "It's time." I'm going to put James and John away. The Bible doesn't say anything more about them. But Judas, who was a disciple, had made a plan. He got some money to show the soldiers which one was Jesus. So here come the soldiers. Remember, it's night. So the soldiers have their swords, they have their clubs, and they have their torches to light up the night. And here comes Judas, and he gives Jesus a kiss on the cheek. That told the soldiers, this is Jesus. Now, Peter, he saw a big fight coming, so he pulled out his sword, and Jesus said, "Put it away. This is the way God said it has to happen." So Jesus was arrested that night, and he had his hands bound, and he had to go with the soldiers. And because he knew this was God's plan for him, and this was the only way to save us. The soldiers first take Jesus to the high priest's court. And look at the high priest. He's very upset. He does not like Jesus. Too many people are following Jesus. And so he is trying to find things wrong. Now, people have to make up lies about Jesus because he didn't do anything wrong. But the high priest asked him, "Are you the Son of God?" And Jesus says, "Yes, I am." Oh, that made the high priest very angry. That's blasphemy. He's making up lies. He can't be the Son of God. So look at his finger. He says, "Go, take him to the governor." This was the next morning when they took him to Pilate, the governor. And Pilate, the governor, asked him, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I am Jesus. I am the Messiah." And Pilate says, "I don't see why he needs to be put to death." That's what the high priest said. If he's going to say bad things about God, he needs to die. But Pilate said, "I don't see it. Maybe we could let him go, but he's afraid of the people." So he asks all the people, "What should I do with Jesus?" And they say, "Kill him, crucify him. Oh, get rid of him." And Pilate, who was afraid of the crowd, said, "All right, do what you must." So that day, the soldiers took Jesus. And they nailed him on the cross. You can see in his hands, and you can see in his feet. And Jesus didn't do anything wrong, but boy, they mocked him. They said, oh, make him wear this crown of thorns. Thorns poke, so that would hurt. He says he's a king. Let him wear the crown. That must have really hurt. Now, there was a criminal on this side of Jesus and a criminal on this side of Jesus. Now, both of these had done some bad crimes and they needed to be crucified. But Jesus was crucified even though he hadn't done anything wrong. At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when it should have been sunny, it got all dark. And Jesus said, "It is finished." And that's when he died. I'm going to keep the soldiers here because I need them again. This is the tomb. A tomb is like a cave. This is where they put their dead bodies. So they took Jesus and they wrapped him up in the cloths, which was their custom, and they laid him in the tomb. And then they took a great big rock and they put it over the tomb. And the soldiers remembered, oh, you know, they say Jesus is going to rise from the grave. We better keep guard and make sure nobody steals his body. Here comes my favorite part. In 3 days, Mary Magdalene and another Mary were on their way to pay their respects to the body. But on their way, there was a big earthquake. The rock rolled away. And there was an angel sitting on the rock. And these poor soldiers were so afraid that they fainted. They were so afraid. And Mary Magdalene looked at the angel, and the angel said, "Do not be afraid. You see, the tomb is empty. Jesus is no longer dead. Jesus is alive. Go tell the disciples that Jesus will meet them later." That's why it's my favorite Bible story. Jesus died so that we would be able to live with God forever. Excuse me, you weren't here to tell me what comes next, so I had to write it all down. Dying on the cross and rising on Easter was the greatest miracle Jesus ever did. And remember, he never did anything wrong, but he was punished because we've done things wrong. We have sinned. When we believe that Jesus is raised from the dead, and we ask God to forgive us our sins, and then we invite Jesus to be king of our heart, we too can be saved and be with Jesus forever. This is the power of God's love. I hope to be able to be with you soon. Happy Easter.